Greetings. This will be a short video as the transcription is already done. It will revolve more so around talking about the transcription and maybe how to use it. Without further ado, actually with a little bit more ado, one thing about this song is that it's kind of notoriously difficult to actually get the picking pattern. And it's almost like a sort of secret recipe trying to understand what exactly is being done in terms of particularly the picking hand of R.L. Burnside, such that there's really no other rendition of Poor Black Mattie that is quite like the R.L. Burnside version. Most stuff that is out there is not quite the same. Sometimes it gets a little close, but inevitably there's just something that's just not the way that R.L. Burnside plays it. So, a bit, and furthering with the ado, maybe 10 years ago as well as 7 years ago on this channel, I've released kind of like instructional videos on how to play that song. And even though actually the reception towards those videos was actually really nice, and people were very nice to say that it sounds like a little more on the mark, but inside I always felt like neither of those really did the job. And so finally I've gotten around to doing this tablature. So a couple things. I'm just gonna go through each of one of these sections here and then talk about maybe how to go about reading it. Again, this won't be a very long video. So essentially it takes samples of each riff. So for example, the main riff here. So this samples it at the very beginning. Oh darn, I lost the timestamp on this one, but I think it was around the middle of it. This is what is played while singing. And this is a variation of the more simple version of the interlude riff, where that top note is played. Then here's another one, maybe you can call it like the yo-yo version, because he goes up, then he comes back down. Here's one with a bit of like a pull-off. Pull-off happens right here. this is probably the easiest part of the song to actually play, because he plays it in a bit more of a straighter feeling, like it isn't as swung. Oftentimes it seems like trying to play a swung rhythm is more difficult than playing a more straight rhythm. Plus, the picking pattern, you can even see here, it's not so intricate relative to some of the other sections. And then here's the kind of final variation that, at least on this particular recording, which is noted in the description area, sampled at 2 minutes 10 seconds here, where it's more of like an 8-bar. Well, actually, he plays this a few times and then gets into this, so this 8-bar thing seems to kind of get at it. Alright, so far it's been kind of a bit of a discussion about, for some context about Poor Black Mattie. Next, we've sort of gone through each section of the transcription. So finally, close to the end here, we can maybe talk about how to go about reading the transcription, because the picking pattern is really paramount, I suppose, in order to play the song. Even if the exact notes are played in terms of the kind of what might be written here, assuming it's got some accuracy, it doesn't really do much good if it doesn't have the sort of ergonomic way of hitting the strings with the picking hand that allows for that sort of looseness that R.L. Burnside plays with. And in making the transcription and in looking at it, there can be some observations made. This kind of, so now getting into it, these symbols kind of come from like stringed instrument playing, where this would be kind of like they kind of differentiate whether it's the directionality of whether the bow's going this way or that way. And so here maybe they can be used to note how the pointer finger of the picking hand is being used. As has been discussed in some of those prior videos, there's a bit of a flicking motion that R.L. Burnside seems to use. And it's somewhat arcane, but it seems to make more sense in this way. So firstly, there is the involvement of the thumb here. So you can see where this is a tie, so this bass note doesn't actually get played, it's just held. You can even make that into a half note. The bass on the thumb seems to kind of stick around here. Unsurprisingly on the downbeats, primarily, maybe more noticeably on beats 1 and 3. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, etc. There are these It's always a bit of can be noisy on the weekends. All right. So then what about the flicking of the pointer finger? I'm gonna wait for this motorcycle to drive away. That might be a while. So, as noted here, the kind of arch can be described as an upstroke, also more, maybe more familiar, with a bit more familiarity. It can be sort of connected to like an upsweep of the pointer finger on the strings. And then the V downstroke here is a bit more like the flick of the finger downwards where the nail hits the strings. So this then gets into a bit of the ergonomic aspect of the plucking, where it seems to make sense, where, for example, in this sequence here, the arch, the V, then the arch, it'll be upsweep, flick down, upsweep. So do that, do that, do that, do. And there can be sort of these like skips, almost like skipping, in terms of like the gait, where there are like a couple upsweeps in a row. But then again here, where there is a down flick, there is it's sort of, as it would sort of logically happen, you wouldn't really get two down flicks in a row, might be a bit weird. And sure enough, they always tend to be sort of like enclosed in with upsweeps. So now here's kind of the interesting thing. Good day, good day. It can sort of be observed in listening to R.L. Burnside play Poor Black Mattie that it's almost like there's another instrument being played, like maracas or like a shaker, and we'll sort of show that in any sort of, let's take it, maybe like okay, so here's this simple variation. Okay, then he gets into the variation where he hits the top note. But here's where it's kind of let's zoom in a little bit. Okay. Now, right here is where it lands into the root on the one. One. Anyways, starting from here. So you can hear on the upsweep, do-dee. Once again, upsweep. When he hits that upsweep, it kind of catches some open strings underneath. So just tried to represent that with some nearby strings below. So upsweep, do. So this is all done by one. These are just done by one pluck, because it's just a slide up, and then these kind of actually should be more like this, but so then upsweep to catch that slide, another upsweep to catch this note up here. So that's kind of like the skip, like when someone's skipping, they land on the same foot twice and then go to the next foot. Now, let's hypothesizing that this is indeed a downstroke sort of flick of the nail across the strings. I think what kind of helps to lend some, to make that seem like it's actually what's happening here, is you can kind of hear that it sounds a little bit more metallic and shimmery on these parts. So okay, so that's a little bit, you can hear a bit of that percussive. Not the best example, but there's an example here. This example is more like as if he does this, doesn't even really do that, but and then all right, okay, so then starting off from here now, it's a little different. You have this chord shape right here. And so here it's actually a bit like this. You can hear that thumb, upstroke, and then flick down. Boom. There's that flick at the end. And really then that's kind of the main thing here, is it's just getting the flick and then doing it with a bit of swing. If it's played too straight, it doesn't even matter about doing that technique, because it just won't really have that. There's that yo-yo variation. The tuning is Spanish tuning with a capo on the first fret. And yeah, that's pretty much it. These are actually kind of 2-bar sort of things that repeat, but just to make it sound a little longer, just grab the bit extra. And yeah, actually then using, I don't know if using the guitar, it's sort of like And then the theory, I guess, is that the sort of nail makes it sound like that maraca thing. Oh, can't play that song. But, I guess those are the tabs, and that's pretty much it. So, actually, may pick things up again later, but just to keep this topic centric, we'll close out this stream, and then, yeah, the transcription or the tabs are posted and they're in the description, so you can sort of play around with it and create some or form an opinion about whether it's good or not. So, all right, take care. And yeah, we'll pick things up hopefully not in too long. So, yeah. But for now, we'll just sign off. So, see you later, and thanks for tuning in.